Hello, and welcome to the third episode of Chicago.mp3, a podcast about the music scene in America's greatest city. I am your host, Rucia Tiara, and in today's episode, we're speaking with Deathlove. Deathlove is a Chicago based music project by Dylan Doetch. Deathlove is indie pop, but pulls from a variety of music genres to create music that makes you feel the groove, even when you're sad. If you get to the end of this episode and you enjoyed what you heard, even a little bit, please give us a thumbs up or a 5-star rating, whatever the equivalent is on the platform that you're using. Thanks. Now let's dive right in. So, tell us about your music journey. How did you start and how did you become Deathlove?
Wow, what a great question. Um, yeah, I've been playing music truly since I was like 9. I used to like write songs and put them out on uh, MySpace when I was like 11 and 12, which was huge for me. And then I kind of went. I like had a lot of bands throughout middle school and bands throughout high school, and then actually I around like so basically like what I wanted to do was make music, and around like 20 I got a diagnosis of this inner ear thing where they thought I was gonna lose my hearing, and
Oh my God.
yeah, which was like really scary. And they basically said like it's going to be this like possibly degenerative sort of thing. And so when that happened, I was like, well, I can't do music anymore. And so I was like, what else do I love doing? I always did like theater in high school and whatnot. And so I moved to Chicago to pursue that. And then as time went on, I just didn't lose my hearing, which was great. And I like went back to my ENT, and they were basically like, if it hasn't happened by now, I think you're good.
They
Um,
were like, psych?
yeah, no joke. They truly were a little like psych, but that's good news, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so it was like around the time the pandemic hit, and I basically was like, couldn't do anything with people, and started just like remaking music, and I think like sort of like falling in love with it, and also just something about not having to see the people that I was going to be making the music for was so nice, because I really started just being like, what would I make if I just wanted to spend the night making something, which
Mhm.
is why and that's kind of where Death Love came from. It was just sort of like a little project of putting out music where it was like, I'm not going to think about who this is for. I'm just going to think about like the experience of making it, and that's why I think most Death Love songs are really kind of fun, because I'm like, I can't listen to myself crying over a sad thing that happened for too long. And I think it's like a sort of a project around having fun in the making. And so I like hope it's fun to listen to.
Yeah, it is. It is very fun. It's even like the songs that have like a sadder element to them, it's still sort of like upbeat. It's kind of,
That
it doesn't
is
drag you down.
That's my hope. Is truly, I'm like, I think the people who have told me they like my music, I feel like are always people who are really sensitive like me and can't listen to
Hmm.
sad music. Like there's a lot of sad artists I love, but if I listen to anything for too long, it really, like the wrong chord change will make me be like, what is life all about? What's happening? And so I do think like I really try to thread a needle of like, I want to talk about something sad, but other people who are sensitive like me, I'll try to keep the plane sort of moving.
Yeah, that's amazing. And it's interesting that this came about during the pandemic because Death Love is a solo project. So do you have like desire to collaborate in the future, or do you just love like working alone?
No, that's a great question. I don't love working alone. I truly am like, it's the sort of thing where it doesn't really make sense why I do it. I just think it's easiest. It's like, when the inspiration hits me, I'll try to work on it. Um, and whenever I think about bringing somebody in, I'm like, oh, that's so many microphones to plug in, and I gotta get them water, and I gotta do a lot of stuff. But I do think so lately I've been collaborating with somebody on Fiverr. A lot of my songs have saxophone, and there's this artist, Fabian Saxy, he goes by on there, and he's incredible. He's like this amazing musician. And what I've found working with him is like, uh, his parts are my favorite parts of the song. because they aren't the parts I
Mm.
did. They aren't the parts that I know what's wrong with them, or I know what I wish they had been, or I know like exactly what I played wrong that I couldn't get right. Um, and I can't hear those mistakes with him. And I've like been slowly learning like collaboration is so fun because you get to enjoy those parts of the song so much more. Uh, I did a music video during the pandemic where I basically like shot a friend of mine, Grace Chekowitz, uh, the song and was like, she's a dancer, and she'd been posting these videos of her dancing, and I thought they were so cool. And I was like, could you record yourself, and then I'll sort of edit the footage, and did all this weird stuff on the footage. And I thought this was my favorite part of the song, was like her dance to it, because I was like, she did that, and
Interesting.
that was so cool. I got to be a fan of that, and I don't like the song, but I like what she did with it. And so I do like, my hope is to one day be able to collaborate and like have like, you know, musicians play the different parts, because I think when they add stuff to it, I just get to be like, that is so cool, and I don't have to be like, huh, I could probably do that better if I worked a little harder.
Yeah, it's just I think as creatives sometimes we're just like way too hard on ourselves, and it's just easier
Absolutely.
to look at someone else and be like, wow, they're amazing, and not put that critical mind onto them.
Absolutely. And also there is something to like, I know how I want it to sound, and I feel so bad if I'm like, huh. Like I'm almost scared of confrontation, but I'm not scared with myself. So I can be like, I played it wrong. I'm going to play it again. But if somebody plays it for me, I'm like, that was good. You're great. That was
Oh,
awesome.
interesting.
You know? And so I think
Yeah.
it'll be a slow journey of realizing, but yeah, I definitely is like the dream is to do a full album where I can have some musicians play everything live.
Okay, I was going to ask if you wanted to do a full album because you've been releasing a lot of like little singles like droplets. But would you want to like release an EP this year or a full length album maybe?
Yeah, that's actually was my one of my big New Year's resolutions. One was to cook, and I bought a sous vide, so that one's done.
Ooh,
And then,
fancy.
and the second one was to do a. I would love to put out an album. I think because I've just been releasing songs for so long, and like because it's sort of a project of like just playing whatever I want. I sometimes feel like maybe there's not cohesion between every song, and so sometimes I'm like, I think what I want to do is land on maybe the 10 songs that I have, and that I feel like can go together, and then re-record them maybe in a manner where it's like there's at least a little bit of a through line.
Yeah, so thinking of the through line, would you want there to be sort of like an overhead concept of like these are all songs about this period of my life or this person or this kind of theme, or are you thinking more of like sonic cohesion?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think sonic cohesion. Maybe that'll be what the album's called. Um, I think it's yeah, I think it for me it's more about like, I love when an artist just puts out like, I mean, it's the reason so many people's first albums are so good, because it's like songs since they were, you know, 11, and they get to
Yeah.
choose and pick the best ones. And so I think it's for me just feeling like it's of a piece, because I think my favorite albums, you're like, oh, that was a masterpiece. And there's definitely like different genres, there can be different things, but normally like sonically there's a little bit of like, oh, that's what this album is. And I think I have enough songs that are close, but also just like with every song I release, I feel like you're seeing me learn how to like do write songs better. And I do like every song I make, normally I'm like, that's my favorite one. And then the next one comes out and I'm like, that's my favorite one. And every other one is bad. Um, so
No.
I think what happens is I just am like, oh, I'll need to re-record with all the knowledge I've learned. But there's so many songs I have that I'm just like, I'm in love with that song. I'd love to like update it and then put it out, because I think um, I mean, this is going to sound pretentious, but I think the biggest thing I always am trying to do with like a Deathlove song is like, uh, I want it to sound like something that you'd want to listen to for a long time, and not,
That's not pretentious at all.
yeah, well, I guess it's like, you know, I want it to be like a classic. I feel like every time I'm writing a song, I don't want it to feel like, oh, this could be, track 9. I'm like, I want every track to be track 3 or track 5, like your favorite song. Um, and I
Okay.
think that's kind of like, I just sort of want to update each thing, but I'm like, that's my hope. So I'm nervous to put it down on this podcast so that it has to make me do it. But my hope is to get something full length, because it's my favorite way to listen to music is like, I I'll listen to people's singles, but I think um my favorite like listening experience is to just like listen to somebody's album over and over again.
Yes, I love to just like dive into an album, especially when
Mm-hmm.
there's like some kind of common thread, like a story being told, or you can like be like, oh, this song is referencing back to this song. It's always so
Yeah,
fun.
absolutely. Wow.
So, who are
Okay.
your music influences?
Oh gosh, what a good question. It's so funny because knowing I was coming into this, I was like, what kind of questions will she ask? And even that, I'm like, oh, that's so overwhelming. Yeah, I just have so many. I think the biggest ones I love, um, like I think a lot about the Cars when making music. It's a band my dad really loved, and he had the greatest hits album. Um, and I think that's like a big inspiration for kind of the Deathlove sound. I think like I love Bleachers. I feel like you can really hear that in the music. Uh, I really love McGee. Right now is kind of like what I'm listening to over and over again. But I think when I really think about my sound, a lot of it is like a guy called Ben Queller uh, was so influential to me growing up. I feel like when when I listen to Deathlove, you might not hear it, but I can tell the way I'm
Mhm.
singing is inspired by him, and I can tell the way I'm like, I want there to be like drama in each song, or I can hear the way I'm like getting quiet and getting loud. There's another band called Deer and the Headlights that was such a big influence on me growing up. And
Mhm.
uh, yeah, they just have that same thing. I think I can tell there's like an attitude I feel when I'm singing, and I can feel that I'm being these people in my head, or like I want the music to make you feel how I felt they felt. Um, and then I'm trying to think other influences. Uh, Somebody asked me that once, and I remember being like, there's this part in Zoolander. You remember that movie? Uh,
Yeah.
where he goes like, I love Sting's music. He's a big inspiration. I don't really listen to the music, but I love that he's making it. And I do think there's the band LCD Sound System.
Mhm.
I don't listen to them, but my brother really loves them, and he would always have them on in the car. And I actually used to be like, "This is not my music. Like, you can listen to that. I'll hear it." But there's something to when I'm making music that I'm like, especially early on in the pandemic, and I feel like you can hear it. That I was like, I am thinking about them and how much my brother loved them. And I'm going to make my version of that music. And so I do think there's a little bit of like, they're such an inspiration, even though I'm not, I'm sort of doing what I think they are in my head. Um, oh, and then the Talking Heads. I mean, the Talking Heads is my favorite band. And um, again, it's sort of like, you might not hear it, but in my head, it's like who I'm wanting to be when I'm singing the songs. And I think
Yeah.
just like so many of these people are like, I don't really care what you think of me. I'm just gonna make some fun music. Um, and I think all of that in my own head, I can hear it, but uh, yeah, I think probably sounds a little like Bruce Springsteen.
I can definitely hear the Bleachers influence, especially in like Catalina.
Yeah.
I love Bleachers. I've seen them live several
Oh my
times.
God, they're so good. I was
They're
a
so
huge
good.
fan. I mean, truly a huge, like, I can't overstate. I can't do one of those things to say like what a big influence Jack Antonoff, because he was the lead singer of Steel Train, which was legit like my favorite band growing up. And I
Oh, I need to look
remember,
them up.
oh, you gotta, they're so good. And I remember like seeing them at Warp Tour and like buying their merch at Warp Tour. and it's just crazy because I was learning how to make music from this man. And like I was like, I'm basing like song structure, I'm basing like chord choices off of like the kind of music I love and what he's making. And it's just crazy that his influence all of a sudden was like, I'm making these Taylor Swift albums, which are the biggest
Yeah.
albums ever. And I think it was just crazy because I can hear it all in those songs, and everything he works on is like the biggest music. And I think it's just crazy to go from
Yes.
like, this was who I was studying as like the music I want to make. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, all these secrets are now out there for everybody. But it's also so exciting because it's like, I get all this good music that he gets to work on, and I get to hear like my favorite person sort of like influencing all these artists. Um, but yeah, I think I would
Yes.
be like, I truly was absolutely obsessed with that band. So can't really overstate that or understate that influence.
Yeah, Jack Antonoff. I have like one-sided beef with Jack because I really miss the band Fun and I want them back
Oh,
together.
yeah,
And I think that's never
absolutely.
gonna happen.
I don't know. Speaking of podcasts, I mean, I was such a big The Format band. I'm feeling like so old and also like a little hipster, but
No.
The Format was Nate Russ's band before Fun, and I loved Fun as well. But The Format is like what truly was like. I'm like, as we're talking about, I'm going, I can't not mention them. They truly are what Deathlove is trying to be. Like when I'm using like strings, when I'm using horns. Uh, if you go back and listen to the album Dog Problems, it's like a perfect album to me, and it is dramatic. It is like a little Queen inspired. It's a little Beatles inspired, but it is so theatrical. It's kind of like what you hope musicals would be, and I think, yeah, I just am like, I agree with you completely that I want them to make another album. I want them to get back together. But right now, Nate Ruess is hosting a Lethal Weapon, the TV show recap podcast.
Oh,
I
interesting.
don't know if you know that. It's actually, I've listened to it. It's really good. I also recommend that.
I've never seen that show, but
I don't know if
I guess I have to
anybody,
watch the show first.
I truly don't know if anybody besides the guys who are doing that recap podcast have watched that show.
Okay, so has anyone in your life given you advice on making music or just creativity in general that you still think of and use today?
Whoa, that's awesome. That's such a good question. I'm trying to think. I feel like so many people have given me advice. I'm trying to think of people. You know, one thing I will say is like, I think the way I ended up who I am is that like my dad is really into music, my mom is really into music. They both don't really play music, but they're just like such lovers of music. And I think uh, this is a constant fight with my mom, and I love her so much, but she is just like, Dylan, why can't you just play just your voice and a guitar? Can you just be your voice and a guitar? And I think she doesn't like all the beeps and boops, and she really doesn't like any sort of distortion on my voice. Uh, and I think like there is something too when I'm making music. There is a part of me that's like, maybe with this song, I'll win my mom over, and I'll try to like strip
Oh,
it down a little
interesting.
bit. And I do think as Death Love has gone on, it's like I'm trying to strip back more and more effects, because I think like there is a certain amount of hiding behind effects, because I think you can, not just even for your voice, but for like the fact that I'm making music in my home with like, a cheaper mic. And I think like, I don't have all this expensive equipment. And I think like you can sort of hide the imperfections with, uh, producing around it. But I think what I'm trying to do is get to a point where like, I think my mom is right to a certain extent, where she's like, you don't need all that. Like, can you just be make music, and you don't have to have all these sort of uh, indie effects. And I mean, even as I'm saying this, I'm going like, yeah, I think I'm trying to blend the two, where I'm trying to have all the beeps and boops for my brother, and I'm trying to like also strip back some of the effects for my mom. Um, and I think like my mom is also just such a sensitive, emotional person, and
Mm.
she'll tear up listening to a song that is not sad, but is just like triumphant. And I think I'm the same way. Is like I cry a lot more to like people succeeding, or like a big, oh my god, I'm so happy sort of feeling. And I think like when she talks about how emotional she feels in those moments, I don't know if it's quite advice, but I think it's like she'll talk about, if she'll talk about a musician, even she'll be like, I saw them and you could see them pouring their heart out. I saw them and
Mm.
um they were so real, and I felt like I knew them. And uh I think she always knew, she was telling me that to be like, that's what a good musician is like, you should try to be that. um so
Definitely.
yeah.
I think that like I can tell when I'm watching someone live if they're pouring it all out on stage or if they're just going through the motions. And I think the worst thing in the world is to be at a show that you've taken the day to go to, travel to, you've spent your good hard earned money on, you've memorized all the lyrics, you're so excited, and then the artist is just like a robot on stage. It's
Yeah,
terrible.
you're so right. Like I'm like, that's I think the best musicians are sensitive people. And I think like
Yes.
playing music gets you, especially it's a song you wrote about something that happened to you. Like I'm like, it should, like it does pour out of you. Like I like, at least when I'm making music, I'm like, I want people to feel how I felt in that moment. And I think the reason I can't make sad songs is because when I play them again, I'm like, ooh, it's taken a lot out of me to go back to that place. I think I always have a lot of empathy for people like Taylor Swift. I'm like, it's got to be so hard to sing about the hardest things that happen to you for, maybe 2 hours of a 3 hour show every single night,
Yeah.
and go back to that place every single night. I'm like, no wonder musicians have such a tough life. I'm like, we're kind of expecting them to relive their trauma over and over again. But I do think like that is what makes an incredible musician, is somebody, especially a performer, who can go back to that place and like present it to you. And also like I've heard so many wonderful musicians say like, the song used to be about a breakup for me, and now it's about like the relationship I have with my son. Like it shifts,
Aw.
but they are like, my own song is influencing me again. And I think that happens with me a lot. It's like I as a fan of myself, I want to be back in that place, and I want to like figure out what that means to me now.
Yeah, it's sort of like that. What's that Lucy Dreyfus lyric where she's like, in 5 years, I hope these songs feel like covers dedicated to new
Oh
lovers.
my god, the
I
best
don't know. I
song
feel like I said her
ever.
name wrong.
No,
Yeah, so.
she's so cool. I just got to see her at the Treehouse Museum.
Oh, I'm jealous.
The Treehouse Museum, an incredible old like mansion turned museum in Chicago. You should check it out. But they did a concert with Lucy Dacus, and she played that song to end it, and everybody was like screaming those lyrics. And again, it's like that's what makes an awesome musician, is like everybody felt what she felt in that moment.
Exactly. Maybe you could release like acoustic versions of the songs for your mom.
Just for my
Like,
mom. No
yeah,
joke,
just put
she
like
would
mom's
love
version.
that. Wait, I'm gonna write that down for Mother's Day. She would be like,
Yes.
finally.
Like, wait a minute, mom's version.
Yeah.
This
Oh
is.
my God, she would go crazy for it. It would probably be about 3 minutes shorter, but she would love it.
So, how do song concepts typically come to you? Like, for example, when you're writing "Wait a Minute," was that line like "Be My Baby"? Was that like a recurring thought you had in your head at the time?
Wow. Good question. Yeah, I think every song is different. I mean, truly, I think uh, it really, I think a lot of songs I have to get the chorus first. I heard somebody else say this, and I can't remember who, but it's sort of like a chorus. The song could be good, and uh, then you can start working on the verses and get out. And I do think, I don't know if "Be My Baby" I think that might have been later. That might have just been me sort of uh, mumbling some words and being like, I need something there. What am I feeling? And I think I landed on it. Um, I think something interesting about the way I write music is like a lot of times I'm finding the melody first and I'm saying absolute nonsense. And I'm in a microphone just kind of being like, do buggins and if you go and I go and you go. And I think then I'm going back and trying to figure out like what was I starting to say? There's like an attitude to what I'm saying. I can tell that I'm like, oh, this I'm landing on it. Like this is the punchline of a joke, even though it's not. It's just sort of the cadence of that.
Yeah.
And then I go back through, and a lot of times there's like good lyrics in there. Maybe like every other lyric is a good lyric, and I think, well, what should I? What am I trying to say with this song? And then I go back and I rewrite the lyrics. Um, but normally something like a chorus is like it just comes out of me and I think, okay, that's I know what this song is and I can write about it now. Um, but yeah, there is a certain amount of I think like comedy is something that is so important to me. And I think like I am always trying to have at least some part of a song normally where I'm like, this is a little funny, it's a little cheeky. Like I think I think a lot of times with a Deathlove song, it's like first verse, I'm getting you into what the song is about. Chorus, I'm like trying to make you feel and sort of like state an intention. And then I always feel like second verse is my hardest thing to write because I'm like, I want it to be different, but almost every time I want the second verse to be a little funny. I'm like, I want it to feel a little like, oh, you've heard the chorus and now you're smiling, now you're having a good time. Um, but yeah, I think normally I really go a little structurally. It's like the second verse and the bridge is what I'm always struggling to write because I just want them to be different. I want them to like uh, take you somewhere else. I think instead of hearing the
Yeah.
same thing over and over again,
I love when the bridge is like dramatically different from the song.
it's the coolest. I mean, speaking of fun, like no band did that better, and I do think that that's like
Yeah.
that is sort of what I'm chasing is just a little bit of like, um, yeah, just keeping you on your toes and doing something different. I think a lot of times I want it means the most to me when I hear somebody who loves music listen to the song. And like, I think a lot of people, maybe this is just my own insecurity, but I think a lot of people are like, oh, it's just a pop song. It's just like a fun little earworm. And I think like I'm always trying to make earworms that are like interesting to people who really know music or love music. And it means the world to me when people listen to it and go, that thing in the second verse where you throw, I don't know what it is. It's like you throw a bass line or you have an echo or you have that line turn or the way you like cut everything out. Um, I think it's like it means the most to me when people go like, "That was cool. That was weird. You're a little
Yeah.
weirdo for that." Uh, I have a song called "Fine Lines" where at the end it's just like um, sort of me a cappella singing harmonies over it, and I think my favorite compliment is when people are like, "That thing is crazy. That's so weird." I couldn't believe when that everything dropped out, and I think like maybe that's what I'm chasing when I'm writing is just the feeling of people being like, this is like you're pretending this is a pop song, but this is like weird. This is a little weird.
Yeah, it's fun when pop music gets a little weird. I
Yeah.
mean, that's why people are loving Gaga right now because she's being weird again.
Yeah. I think everybody should be weird. It's like what we want our artists to be. Like even I mean, it's like I have him right there. From the Talking Heads, David Byrne, he it's just the weirdest guy, and you're sort of like, what's wrong with him? Is he okay? And I think you kind of want that from your musicians because they're just like spilling everything that humans are.
Yeah, I think that I don't relate to music that has a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? Bravado when they're
Mm,
like, I'm so amazing, everyone wants me type of music because it's not honest, it's not vulnerable. Like
yeah.
some people, maybe if you want to get like pumped up at the gym or whatever people do, I don't know, there's a time and a place for that. But I like to listen to the music and feel like I kind of understand what the artist was going through at the point in time.
Absolutely. And I think like people who do write music who is like I'm thinking of Childish Gambino. I'm like that's who I listen to and I want to feel like really feel myself and feel like people are like speaking of somebody with bravado, I think so many of those songs, but I think what he does so beautifully is like one verse will be about how confident he is and then the next verse will be like that I'm that's bullshit. And I
Yeah.
think that that's something I can really relate to is sort of like especially as an artist, I feel like you have to have like so much confidence in yourself and then so little self-esteem or something. Like it's like you're somehow waffling between the two so fast you can't even keep up. Um, and I don't know. I was just thinking of like bravado in music. There, I love a song that makes me feel confident, and I love to know that that artist is not that confident, and that in this moment they want to feel confident, just like you do.
Yes, exactly. Someone who used to do, I mean, I almost don't want to mention him because he's evil now, but Kanye West used
I
to do
literally
that really
almost said
well.
it. Yeah, I almost was like, how do I reference Kanye and be like, R.I.P. It's he. Yeah, that sadly that used to be my pump up music. But same thing. I'm like, no, we can't even talk about him.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
sad.
I guess it's a Chicago music podcast, so he's going to come up, I
Yeah,
guess,
that's
but
so true. That's so true.
But also, people underestimate like, they think it's so easy to write an earworm pop song, but it's not because, everyone would do it if they could. And it's an underrated skill.
Wow,
So don't
that
undervalue that.
thank you so much. That is so nice. Yeah, I mean like the thing is I love I do love other types of music. It's just truly about what can you spend, especially making it by myself. I can't make a song in like a week. I have to spend like months listening to it over and over again. And I take it, I put it in my car, I listen to it in my car over and over again. I go and I change it. Um, and I'm like, I just can't listen to a sad song. I can't listen to a slow song that long. I'll throw myself off a bridge. Truly, I'm like, there are a couple sad songs in the canon of Deathlove, and I think they were so difficult to make. They were so painful to listen to over and over again, and also just like I was in a weird mood having to do that. Um, but I think like I have a lot of songs I love that I've written that are sad, and I just am like, I can't record them until I have somebody who can take this work. I can just come into the studio, record them, and leave and come back. I just can't be trying to mix myself crying too long. Makes you feel crazy.
No, that's so real. Like, normal people would get to move on from their like exes or tragedies or whatever that happened, and then musicians are like, you just get to carry those songs around with you forever.
Yeah,
Well, like
and
we were talking about it earlier, but yeah.
yeah, I don't know how. I truly don't know how people do it. I'm like, for me, the key is to have something so happy and joyous.
So far this year you released Catalina, and so that was like, it's a really fun upbeat song.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have, when you're like recording those songs, does it work in the inverse way? Like, are you in a super upbeat happy mood when you're recording a happy song as well?
Great question. I'm like never, you know, I'm like I'm never in that good of a mood. I'm
Oh no.
I, this is turning into therapy. I think it's because I take my therapy call right here as well. Um, I'll send you some Venmo for this, but I think the reason I'm making happy music is to cheer myself up. I think the happiest songs come from moments where I'm like I need to make myself feel better about what's happening. Like it's not like a desire, it's like I need to do this. And I think like I land on chords and chord progressions and little loops that I'm like this feels so good to my brain to listen to this. And what if this is how I felt? And what if this is who what if only in this moment this is who I was? That would be awesome to sort of structure my thoughts and structure my feelings into it. Um, yeah, and I think it's always like I want to give it as a gift to people to be like, for these 4 minutes, you can feel like this maybe ideal version of who we are. Um, and then we'll go back to a sad song, and then you can come back to this song anytime you want. Um, but yeah, I think honestly, the times I'm making sad songs normally are I have to be in the best place emotionally. It's like
Mm.
I am strong enough in this moment that I could make a sad song, but and enough time has passed about what I want to write about. But I think in the moment, I'm always, if I'm sad, I'm writing a happy song.
Okay, so you're recording your happy songs when you're sad and your sad songs when you're happy, basically?
Absolutely. So if you hear me on the song, you can know exactly what. If it ever sounds like rainbows and butterflies, that means I was in a really dark place. I really
That
needed,
means like
yeah,
suicide watch.
yeah, exactly. I'm like, it should be a wellness check if the song has it has too fast of a tempo.
Okay, noted, noted. So what's ahead for Deathlove in 2025?
Well, I've got I honestly have about like four songs right now that are probably like 70% done, maybe 80% done. And I think I'm toying around with the idea. I think it could be fun to release an album that is songs you haven't heard instead of, I know I spoke before about like I would love to do a bunch of singles that I love and just put them on an album. But there's something so fun about being like, here's maybe five songs that are like a little EP that you've never heard before. Um, yeah, I think this year, again, it's like it's so even nerve wracking saying, but I would love to get an album out. I would love to get, a nice 10, 12 songs because I just want, um, right now, I feel like you're hearing Death Love throughout the years, and I want to put out something that is like you can listen to this is a concrete piece of something. um that, and I'd love to play live more. It's something I really love to do. I've been doing it more often. I think I've even called in friends to just like play little bits with me, and it's so fun. I'm like, I want a band, I want to play with a group. I'm like, uh there's certain songs, there's a few songs I've written that I feel like need to be recorded and played live. And so that's something I'm looking forward to is, if you're listening to this and you want to get in touch, I'm looking to maybe do a couple sessions where it's like recording as a full live band. Yeah, I'm like,
That sounds
that's
so fun.
yeah, I truly, I'm like, I think this year is more about collaborating with people and being a little less, stressed about the end result and trying to just embrace, it's been a couple years since the pandemic, and I feel like I've been noticing myself feel more like who I was before the pandemic. And I think I'm like, I I want a little bit of that back where I'm like, I'm focusing on the experience of making it and not the output. And I know that that's so hard in the world we live in with everything we do, and everything everybody does is to not think about the output and more about, did you have fun while you were doing it? And so I think I'm retrying, that's sort of the uh not mantra, but there's a word I'm looking for, but it's sort of the mantra of Death Love, which is like, I want to enjoy it as I work on it. And so uh, I think playing live, playing with people is what Death Love has for 2025.
Where have you played so far?
I played a few shows at the Color Club. If you
Mm.
know that, it's a
I
great.
just went there for the first time recently.
No way. What'd you go for?
Yeah. My friend's boyfriend's band, Mother Fortune, I think they're called. They were really good. So,
Cool.
but yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love that place. I think it is so cool. The artist guy who runs it, I think, is such a talented artist. If you can check him out, but just such a cool community space. And then I play a lot at. So I also do comedy around the city. This is where everybody starts realizing I'm a dork. But I run a show on Saturday nights at 8 at Logan Square Improv, uh, and it's a show I'm very proud of. But I have like a great community there, and they know that I play music, and so something really like wonderful is I get asked to play by a lot of the other producers of the theater on different shows just to add a little variety. So
Oh,
I've
that's cool.
yeah, so honestly I do play a lot of music there because just like my friends who run different shows are like, hey, will you come play like a couple songs here and then will you play a couple songs there? Um, I did something where I created like visual art for a projector and had it play all the songs, and then that was a way of like getting to sort of I had some of the tracks from the recordings and then also played on top of it, uh, like a little live little musical or something, or a little live music video. And that was something I really loved. I loved editing the visuals. I loved creating these sort of weird, trippy experiences and adding a little drama to it. And I think that's something I'd love to do. I sometimes dream about renting a space, renting a theater, and putting on like I don't know, not necessarily a concert, but more like a little theatrical performance of all my songs. I think that that's kind of a dream of mine, is
Ooh.
to
Like
um,
a musical?
more like a residency or something. I don't know. It's like instead of playing one, I'm like, I don't want to do all this work of figuring all this out for just one night. I'm like, I'd love
Yeah.
to do like a week of shows where it's like, hey, every time you get here, I'll do like 10 songs with some visuals and maybe like some spoken word between it, some changes in the set. I mean, that truly might be the talking heads in me. I mean, I'm like, Stop Making Sense. I think the newest American something, the newest David Byrne show. It's just like melding music and melding theater. I'm like, I just think I don't know how people play new venues every night. I don't know how people do it. I'm like, I love getting something perfect and then doing it for an audience a bunch.
Okay, final question.
Of course.
This is going to be a question that I'm going to start asking people this every episode, but since you're the first one, you didn't
Okay.
have any warning.
No, this is incredible.
um, what is your unpopular music opinion or hot take?
Oh gosh. Unpopular music opinion or hot take? Ooh, okay. Huh. Huh. I'm trying to think of all the hate. Huh.
No.
I'm like, what's the thing I can become the biggest heel of this podcast for?
No.
I think, I mean, I feel like a broken record uh saying it, but I think sad songs are easy to write. That would be my hot take. I think maybe it's just on my mind with what we're talking about, but I'm like, I sometimes am way less impressed when people are like, "Did you hear this song?" It's like just a guy in an acoustic guitar and he's crying, and I listen to it and go like, "I could do that. That's easy. I cry all the
Yeah.
time. I'm sad all the time." Maybe what we'll find is I'll release an album one day of all these, but uh, yeah, I think I guess maybe my musical hot take would just be like, sometimes I'm a little like oh, when somebody does that, because I'm like, come on, it's so easy to
Yeah.
be sad. Like we're all so sad. Let's I think the sad music I love is like people who find something really uh I don't know, can make me feel better. Maybe my hot take is just that like sleeping in all that sad stuff doesn't really, I don't find it that cathartic. I'm like, I think I need
Yeah.
somebody to go, you're okay, everything's okay, it'll be all right.
Yeah. No, that's so real because it's so easy to I think a lot of artists kind of become like consumed or in love with their own sadness.
Yeah.
And it becomes like, oh, no one understands me. I'm a writer. You don't get it, you know?
Yeah, so maybe that
So,
maybe I can try to make it a hotter take. Just like that's boring.
yeah,
Yeah, I'll do
that's okay.
that. I say that, but I'm trying to think if there's anybody any other hot takes. I don't know if I got any. I think we
Well,
gotta cool it with the synthesizers. I love
what?
synthesizers, but we gotta cool it. Maybe that's a
Okay.
good one. Um, hmm. Yeah, I think that's all I got.
That was
Maybe
great.
I'll
Well,
text you a voice memo later when something really fires me up.
okay. We'll add it to the end of
Yeah,
the
exactly.
episode.
Dylan here. Actually, I hate Liam rhymes. No, I don't. I don't know why I don't know
Okay.
why she's catching strays right now. Um,
Just the first person to pop into
yeah,
your head.
exactly. I'll go back and listen. I'll see if I stand by that. Uh, well, that's I think that's a great question. I truly can't wait to hear everybody else's hot takes.
Well, thank you so much for your time here.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
And anyone, my sister yelled at me and told me that I need to remind people to like and subscribe and rate and all that jazz. So anyone still listening, please do that. Thank you.
Yeah, of
Have a great
course.
rest of your day.
Thanks, you too, Razia.
Bye.
Bye.